House. I mean, I guess it's worth mentioning actually. Let's go ahead and just touch on the G2 stuff real quick because Xtaz and now Niak have both moved on, and there was a lot of like shock around Niak moving on for whatever reason, and I'm just like, dude, he's French through and through. Like he has been on the French teams since pretty much the beginning of CS:GO, and I think even in Source, like he came up there. But I mean, he has basically been managing the premier French teams for as long as I can remember. And so when Xtaz decides to leave G2, I can't imagine being shocked that Niak would decide to go next because look, Kenny isn't even on the active roster, so he's not playing. He's not friend, and the rest of the team, there's no Frenchmen left for Niak to work with. So I think, Xtaz leaving, Niak leaving, they're probably talking to each other right now and figuring out, okay, which team do we go in France and how do we, what do we do to rebuild the French scene because clearly it needs it. And, they're probably pretty flush after, their time working for tier 1 tournaments, tier 1 team owners, right? So they've probably got some money put aside. They're probably not going to be, like needing a tier 1 contract again anytime soon. So they could probably actually, switch over to the French team and start rebuilding the French scene and focusing on that, or figuring out maybe some production stuff for the Paris major that's coming up next year. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff they could do in France. So it doesn't come as a big shock to me that these guys are bailing on the G2 project. What do you think of that news?
I mean, to me, first of all, I actually wonder on some level, is this anything to do with Carlos stepping back? Because obviously when he took over this particular squad in G2, it was when he made the French super team after he had Shoxy and Scream, then he made the big team, and then obviously they re-upped a few times. And even the lineup they had, basically, if people don't remember, they broke it half French when they brought in the crazy guys, Hunter, and then they had a Nexa, obviously. But the problem is, to me, that's why it's not a big surprise Niak's going. Because if people don't know, I don't really know what he does when his title's general manager. Because as far as I can tell, it's just the manager part. Like, if people don't know, Niak is just the manager. He was the guy who, like, arranges the flights and, like, helps the team. Maybe.
Yeah, he's not a GM. He's the manager.
If he knows the player, like Kenny S, maybe he has, like, a heart-to-heart with him if they're having problems. Like, he's not, like, he wasn't the one going, like, Alexi B is not for me. We're going to kick him, like, which is, in theory, if people don't know, that's what the term general manager means if you're in American sports, etc. The idea would be he'd be doing what Carlos is supposed to have done, of like pick the players, decide which horse to go with, who am I going to cut now. So it's not a surprise he goes, especially because it is definitely not a French org in any context. That's the part people miss. It's like Fnatic. It ain't a French organization. It isn't a Swedish org. They just had a tradition of Swedish players. And because they always had some good Swedish players, you may as well re-up with more Swedish players. But I noticed it made people think that like the org was Swedish. And so in the same way, people think who were CSGO fans that it's like almost like a French org. Well, obviously isn't, is it? Like the only connection was having that really good French team, which now is no one. Like, remember, there's just no one left in the team. It's irrelevant that they're French. But the bigger thing to me is the idea that Pekka guy comes in, the guy who was working with like Relog and all that shit in Serbia with like and I think like there was some like tournament in Serbia that he was working with. And then he was the one who became like general manager of that FPX team that was in Flashpoint where they never fucking played. And then did get a lineup, but it was the one with Farley and Madden and fucking Devil Walk and those people, if you remember, Sticko. They had that lineup that online was like pretty decent, but it just never really got to the point where the lands came around. It was that good, and obviously they sold the players to these different teams. And basically the problem is that it's not that Niak's left. It's like, remember, keep the narratives clean, Semmler. Niko's never asked for anyone to be fired, anyone to be hired, or had any influence. But magically, a Serbian guy just became his general manager. Like, mate, at what point? Well, are we just going to have to wait till like Niko's uncle and fucking his kebab guy are just working in the org before we realize?
Joke is Kassad and Yanko. You get Kassad in there.
No, but it's already enough that it's already enough that it's a Serbian guy, mate, who already worked with Hunter before. Like, this is ridiculous now. This is just ridiculous. Because here's the problem. If these teams fail now, I've already seen people saying it, dude, because fans never give up on Niko. They're like, I think Niko and Hunter should really think about leaving this team. Are you having a fucking laugh? So they should bring in all their guys and then go, well, this team isn't good enough. Tell you what, I think I need to go to a better team. You made it shit. You brought in your guys. You think Carlos and all the guys from fucking Spain or wherever else G2's from are going, we've got to have everyone from the Balkan regions who magically has a connection to Niko. Niko doesn't want it, of course. In fact, no one even knows what he wants. Apparently, Niko's like fucking certain people's conception of God, like deist or something. It's like, we know he exists and he did create the universe, but he's had no interaction since, and we don't really know his mind or what he wants. Like, fucking hell, mate. Pick up the phone, homie. Just do a call. So I don't buy the idea, obviously, that these people are just joining and magically they have nothing to do. And then also, you saw in the Xtaz comments, what's the implication again? oh, magically, are you ready, Semmler? Here's another thing Niko definitely doesn't want. Magically, his cousin might be his IGL now. You know, the guy who couldn't have Carragher as his IGL and couldn't have MSL as his IGL and couldn't have Alexi B as his IGL, but could have Nexa also from Serbia. Well, you know what? You're not going to believe it, but his cousin can be his IGL. Never been an IGL, of course. No, it's because people are going to tell me you wasn't like tier 4. Like, I mean, at tier 1, obviously, idiot. So, like, mate, again, it's like, come on, man. Again, I've said this in the past. I can't tell if Niko's the unluckiest guy ever because he doesn't ask for anything and all these things seem to happen and then he gets blamed, or if he's the luckiest guy ever because he doesn't ask for anything and all the things he wants happen. It's like, dude, I can't tell which it is.
It's that one line from the Xtaz quotes, because these are quotes that we're referring to, these quotes from Xtaz that were from a stream of his where he was answering questions. He kind of did like an impromptu AMA, and one guy was kind enough to write these down, to take a little bit of a record of it. So very good, you know, big shout out to him. But one of those lines was, I wasn't able to put in place my way of coaching. It's not the coach who drives G2.
Who is it then? No, notice they never tell you. Notice they never tell you, because you know why they go like, you do not speak against the Godfather. Like, give me a fucking break. The fucking bread father more. Like, that's what Niko is, because he just gets that fucking bread, just controls the whole team.
Also, yeah, he's got to be on one of the fattest contracts in CSGO. Why the fuck would he go anywhere else? He's gonna
because he's all about them carbs. No one be so fat. He's getting that bread, not only in the salon, but in the fucking server too, homie. That's ridiculous, isn't it? I know. Come on, man.
Talks about, I mean, let me see.
Because you know what's weird? Have you noticed this? No one's made this connection before. I used to make the connection between Niko and Shocks for two reasons that actually aren't like directly, like the two reasons were this. One, they're just both amazing rifle players who like you want in your team. They could be the game changer. And then two, they both earlier in their careers did have that weird rep of like they sort of party a bit and maybe they're like a bit rock star, and also like you sort of, they're a bit divish. Maybe you have to do things their way in the team and make them happy. So they were actually quite similar in that regard. Because here's the third reason I never thought of back then though. Shocks is also an infamous problem child to have in teams where never seems to get along with an IGL for more than a year, does he? That's why famously, I mean, Niko himself did it, but Shocks used to just go, I'll be the IGL now. And that's how he would just cock you. He wouldn't just go and like toxic and just be like, we have to kick this guy. He'd just be like, maybe I should go now. Like, you know, that they would just start doing that. So like, there's another connection. Like, I don't know why. There's nothing else really thematically between them, but they both just have this tortured career where if they're the superstar player, everything else seems to magically fall apart around them. The IGL, they don't seem to trust him anymore, have a relationship with him. Because that's one thing I was saying in this like video I'm going to put out tomorrow, this one about Nick and Alexi B, because I'm obviously trying to assess the Alexi B thing, what went wrong, etc.
Very interesting.
One thing I can't get is this, right? It's not that I think actually that Niko's doing like some Stewie 2K shit and being like, look, fuck off, dude. Like, don't talk to me. Like, you're just a coach or whatever. Like, bring me water. I don't think he's doing that. But I do get the vibe with Niko that unless it is his guy that is the IGL, like a friend of his, someone he like knows already, a legend that he wants, unless it's that guy. Here's what I don't think Niko gets. This is just speculation, but I think it must be the case if you look at how these team relationships go and how it's not that people diss him when they leave. They just don't address what their relationship was like. They never mention it. Okay. Here's what I want to know. Does Niko actually want to win? Because if you actually want to win, it ain't enough just to shoot heads. What you need to do now, if you're Niko, is each IGL, even if they film it, even if they get kicked out in 6 months like Alexi B, you've got to go into it with the most good faith mindset ever of like, I'm going to give this a real try. And even if I don't agree with this style, I don't agree with this guy, maybe I didn't even agree with the signing, I'm going to try. So here's what you do if you're Niko. Dude, you're the first person to contact the IGL. And you go, you know what, mate, as soon as you get in and we get to the boot camp, let's me and you have a conversation. Here's who I am as a player. Here's who I am in my career. Like, I really want the major now. I'm motivated for that. I'm not here to just get second places and that. I have a certain vision of how I want to play. I want to do these things in the mid round. Give him the whole playbook, then have like a relationship, like, and then he can say to you, well, I sort of do things this way. And yeah, okay, maybe I can make a compromise for you. I feel like that doesn't happen. I feel like what happens is they just got told, like, here's your new IGL. And it's like, oh, hello, mate. It's like you start playing like, nah, I'm not really liking this. I didn't really, you know, it's like, what is the relationship? Because I've never heard of them all of an awesome relationship.
I think that's why I got on board with the Alexi B joining a G2 train, though, because there was those, it is one of those things, but it is what, like you say, right? You know, that you hope that they're going to get off on the right foot and start moving in that path. But do you remember when they posted pictures of them partying together, like where there's like, yeah, we're at the club together, we get along really great and all that. And I was like, well, you know, if they get along socially, maybe that's going to translate into the game. They're going to have an understanding, a certain rapport, you know, they're going to be able to actually, you know, have a conversation and maybe get things done. It didn't really pan out that way, obviously. You know, now we know. But it did make me wonder if exactly what you describe now that you hope Niko is going to do in the future was happening then with Alexi B. Maybe that is a thing. I know this is all pure speculation. We're all here just trying to like psychoanalyze Niko or whatever, like how the bread works. How does the bread get made? But
no, but with good reasons though, Semmler, because here's the thing. Last year, you could make all the excuses because the team wasn't that good. This year, mate, they've had the pieces this year. These are even proven IGLs. He's sometimes getting like Alexi B. Like in this, and he's got a coach, by the way, that guy in Vitality, everyone thought he was a miracle worker. That, by the way, that's an angle I go back to. Because I saw Richard made this point in his video. I don't buy it. I don't buy the whole Extaz angle. Here's why. Because the whole story with him, Semmler, is he's like the French Sonic. You bring him in and he has control. He controls the roster. He controls the practice. He has the system. If that's true, why does he join if he didn't get it? Because at the end, he's trying to do that shit where he's sort of like, I never really got to do my thing. What were you doing for the last 10 months? Because here's my problem. It was implied that it was him and Alexi B not seeing eye to eye that meant Alexi B had to go. Well, if you were never getting what you were doing anyway with Huxies, what was going on in that fucking team, mate? That's something's off with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
how do we ever find that out though? Like,
I mean, you never
is
do.
there a way to find this out apart from
no? Because the
like
problem
some
is
tell-all story. Like
you only get his side.
Comes out 10 years from now.
No, you're only going to get his side because he's French and he's going to go on. He's already done it on his stream and he'll go on an L interview on one PV and sell it. But that'll just be his side, won't it? You'll never get to know
exactly.
That's it. By the way, that's the thing that's always pissed me off about Niko. You're all going to think it's just because you, Thorin, he doesn't like you. He doesn't like anyone. Who's he ever done really long interview with where he explains himself? Here's what you guys don't get, and I'll just say it once and for all. I'll tell you the reason I think he doesn't do an interview, guys. And he's not wrong, but it is why people will never fully fuck with him. I think he thinks I don't have to do an interview, and how dare you think you should know my reasons. By the way, he's not wrong. He's not obliged to tell us. But I'll tell you right now, my dude, if you don't control the narrative at all, someone else will. And that might be me, that might be fans, that might be Reddit or HLTV. But the point is they will control the narrative. And then if you don't like the way it's going, it can get even worse. If you at least participate a bit, you can steer it a bit. You can have some say. By the way, if you come up with a great angle, just look what Config did. Config's an idiot, so he fucked it up. But the first twit longer before we examined it properly, that was initially doing work, dude. People were like feeling really sorry, like, oh, actually, like, oh, he could have died and everything. They didn't realize stuff like, wait a minute, he was trying to kick the other guy and he followed it. It wasn't until people sort of did, they're like, wait a minute. But initially that was working. Like, dude, if Niko just did, it doesn't have to be with me, doesn't even have to be Richard, couldn't be with anyone. He could go and do an interview with fucking Nell. They speak English. Just do like your own version, not a tell-all, but just tell your side of the story. Craft it however you want. Because I guarantee it'll have an impact. Like, I know this because I did this with Alu myself. Remember, Alu came out of the edge shit really badly because all those players at the end turned against him and basically implied like he was the problem. But when he did his reflections interview with me, he came off way better because first of all, he did stuff like he copped to things that maybe were his problem and things he didn't understand about the team and regrets he had. And then things that weren't always his fault. Like, and then when you give like the balanced, your explanation version, it plays really well with fans. Fans can tell if you're authentic, dude. Authenticity, look, it can go against you sometimes, but I think, it connects with people and they realize, oh, this is just a PR. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll listen to this. For it. Maybe I'll listen to it.
That was, I mean, if we want to take it that way, that was the undoing of Carlos at the G2. They could tell that, you know, they're like, blink twice if the PR guy's holding the gun to your head when you're writing these tweet apologies. You know, it's like they are all, you know, people know they can read the PR language now. And so if you get the PR language, they can write you off and say, okay, whatever, he's just doing the PR thing. But if you're actually out there writing something heartfelt or something legit, people definitely, they crave that sort of thing now, I think, because they are so just, you know, surrounded constantly by fake, the veneer. But you really do hope that that at some point the story is going to come out, like just what is going on, because now the thing is that Niko started to lean into the memes. He started to lean into the narrative. You know that I mean, it was funny. Kenny overacted the shit out of it. It was great. Kenny had me cracking up. But that Halloween meme that G2 put out, the little video of them making Dr. Frankenstein's monster, you know, and Kenny's there being the hunchback, you know, helping him out, and then Hooksy's sitting in the corner. I mean, that was a funny meme, but at the same time, it means that Niko's leaning into it. All right, what do you got?
Is he leaning into it, or is someone with like a crook pushing his back, like, go forwards? Because that's the problem. Pull that back up again, Semmler. And you know, I'm not going to go full, like, whatever his name was, Tim, I can't remember, is it Roth or whatever the fuck, in that, like, you know, Lie to Me. You remember that show where it was like he could see like micro emotions or whatever? It was only, they did like a season of it or something. It was a decent premise. Right. That's basically, I'm not going to do that, but there is sort of a bit of that with Niko, which is all I'll say is this. Go and look at all the funny material they've made since he's been in G2. What you can't sell, and again, I'll do another one, True Romance. You remember the Christopher talking character who has that speech about how the face is like a pantomime and it has all these different things.
One of the best scenes in
has all these different things that they give away. It doesn't matter what you say, your face will give away how you feel and what you're thinking. It's like that with Niko, because the problem is he's saying the joke that's funny. He's trying to do but like the eyes, watch the eyes. It's like the face is fake. The eyes are always just dead. Like, I'm not enjoying this. It's like, they've told me to do this and they say it's funny and I'll do it and I'll say the things you said. I'm enjoying this. Good job, Kenny. But I hate this. It's like he always has that thing. And the reason I don't get it is this. It's one thing I've never understood about Niko, by the way. He just is someone who is he's just a whiny fuck, isn't he? He's just got that element to his personality. And the reason it's so weird is go on his Instagram and see when he's with his girlfriend. Go and see, like you're saying, when he's in a club with Niko and Kassad or when he's with some of his teammates. Dude, that's when he's having real fun. Those are genuine smiles. He's actually vibing then. Those are the people he likes. But I almost feel like this guy should have been a 1v1 StarCraft player or Quake player, mate. A game that is not a team game. Because when I see him in a team environment, like, it's like the same in the match. He is the guy where it's like, I bought a Galileo by accident. Like, not literally, but, he just rages off everything, doesn't he? Like, something about that. Like, I wouldn't vibe with a team like that, I've got to say. No matter how good you are. It just sort of sours the mood a bit,
Could be. I mean, it could be that's it's a personality thing, and that's what's causing all of these friction. I
mean, it seems to me because he's made himself. He's also always wrecked himself. You could just give him a credit, right, Semmler, because there's barely any people from Balkan region at the top level. You could go, well, it's a different region. Maybe their passion's different. No, he literally recruited his own cousin, the most chill, cool guy of all time, who's like 80% as skilled as him, but with none of these attitude problems. And who just is the smiling like, yeah, thanks. I mean, I'll try better next time, and I hope to have a good game. And it's like, bro, it's like you did you got the actual control group to show you're just a wanker. Like... It would be like if I had a twin, but he was just some really polite guy. Like, well, I mean, I would never call him an idiot. I would just say I disagreed with his perspective, sir. Then I'd look like a total arsehole now, as instead, seem cool, don't I? Nah, I overplayed that, obviously.
You're not. You're onto something here. You're onto something. It's the Balkan connection. Well, I mean, it's like it's not done yet. We're still going to be seeing the G2 saga continue because they still have to find a coach, and I'm still not, dude. You say it jokingly. You can say it jokingly where it's just like Kassad or Yanko, but at this point, who else you got? I mean, G2 could legitimately bring in Kassad and then just let it run. Let him rip with Niko, and let's see if maybe it's a regional thing and maybe Kassad can get through to him and actually get the results.
I mean, if you look at those videos I did with Kassad, especially the one on coaching, first of all, it is just really good content, like very interesting ideas. Basically, he wants like an American sports approach where you have a whole team and the way you do things. And he even wants like, he had some brilliant ideas, by the way, from sports about how you do contracts. I'll give you a quick taster like this. You know, when they did the Monacy deal, where they just straight up paid $600K for a player that had done nothing. Right. His logic is, first of all, terrible deal, because who are you bidding against? Like, you've just overpaid there. That deal should probably be like $300K. But even if it has to be $500 or $600K, something, here's how Kassad suggests you do it. You don't just pay the $600K up front and then find the team's bust and go, sorry, guys, spent all the budget. You go like, right, I'll tell you what, since he's a young player, $200K cash, and then I'll give you like 5% prize money for the next 2 majors, and then you get $100K in 2 years if he's like a top 20 player. You do like a bonus system and incentive system. What you're doing there, that's genius, is you only need $200K to start with. You pay the rest years later. You've now got money, by the way, if you have to do what they've done now twice, which is buy a new set of players in. Keep buying more players, because that's what you have to do with a super team. So already they fail in that sense. But then the other thing that he wants to do is like, have all different like team structure. So the joke is, if I was other teams, I'd be listening to this video. But it's also a great advertisement that, like, if you hire me, Kassad, I will do all of these things I am talking about. This is what I want to do as a coach or a general manager or esports director or whatever the fuck it would be. By the way, he also got one of the slams of all time off on Twitter. I'll just say, because we're on the topic of Kassad, where what happened was when EG went out, he made some sort of comment about, like, about how evil geniuses would come and make some like stupid comment about how they're going to fix it and shit. Because if people don't know, I'm going to do a video about this soon after the major. EG pissed off not only Malek and fucking Stewie and Evie and all these people, but they dicked around Kassad for months and months, having him do interview after interview. And dude, he was doing like interviews with nobodies, like people who aren't even from CSGO. And they were doing all this shit. And at the end, they were sort of like, right. And they were telling him the whole time, like, it's really, this could really work out. And then at the end, they were just like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Like, we'll call you, don't call us. And then just fucking left him, like, like sitting by a phone that never rang. So because he just had the audacity, Semmler, to suggest like, well, they'll probably just come out now and say a bunch of fake stuff. The director director of performance of EG came and tried to clap him and actually do like what that fucking journalist did to you, just reveal some private shit for a conversation.
I'll read it to you. So GamerDoc at GamerDoc_. Wow. Seems like your overwhelming enthusiasm about our program has waned in only a few months, but I suppose people say anything in interviews. And so
that's insane because one, you have literally just essentially violated the privacy of that interview. And then two, it's also dumb as fuck, by the way, because no one else put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, he was enthusiastic months and months ago when he thought he could run the org and change it. Now that he knows you're a bunch of dog shit morons who did nothing and have fucked the whole team away and spent all this money, he isn't very enthusiastic. But then read out Kassad's reply, because here's where I admire Kassad. I'm bad at this, Semmler. When I do it on Twitter, I erect emotionally and I just tell someone like, you're an idiot or something. He actually did like a classy fucking slam. Give me the slam. Come on.
All right, here we go. So his answer to that is, you would know about that. Instead of replying to my tweets, maybe you should focus on helping your team with performance director.
Now, the reason that's
she is the director of performance.
Literally, that's literally. By the way, can you imagine the fucking gall of some people? Your job is director of performance. Your team has utterly failed with every form of roster it has had. And then you're going like, you don't seem enthusiastic about my dog shit team that's underperforming. And also, the reason I loved it, I even linked it there, is because it's like that moment from Rogue One, isn't it? Where that guy is getting choked by Vader and then he goes, don't choke on your aspirations, director. It's like, exactly. And he even nailed the fucking director at the end. It was fire. That's fire in the booth right there. That was fucking sick, mate. Because like I say, it was almost classy the way he did it, even though he was absolutely, by the way, spitting in your face. He did it in like a funny and classy way where like you seem like the asshole if you don't sort of laugh along with it, don't you? That's how you do a takedown. I actually admire that.
That was just one of the highlights of the week. I think was just that tweet repartee, because the EG people, man, like whatever culture they've got going on over in that team right now with the management and everything. Just wait. You can't even imagine what a clown show is. So like, I won't even leak any details because I need you to get it all at once in the download, because I've got everything from everyone at all levels. And as a result, when you find out the level of clownery, I'm talking about like people they've hired, where they came from, like people they've put in charge, what they've told the other people. When you get a competent person, how you deal with them, who they go under, it's mental when you see the structure, mate. It's so nuts. Like some of it's actually like, it could be like in a parody movie about esports. No. Like, put it this way, I'll give you one little hint. All I'll tell you is this. Have you ever heard that like famous anecdote from Hollywood that when Barbara Streisand was like a huge movie actress and she was like the shit with a big celebrity and stuff, supposedly she had so much pull that the guy who was her fucking hairdresser became like a movie producer thanks to her like putting him in movies and giving him like fucking roles and be like, you have to be my producer now. Like, that's the sort of level of shit you will find out was going on in Evil Geniuses. Like, I don't want to leak any more because I don't want to give the joke away in the punchlines, but like, it's amazing, mate. Just wait until this major. I can't wait. You're doing a video on this?
I've already got all the info, but here's the thing. I can't go into why, but I literally, because I'm not a piece of shit like the Evil Geniuses stuff, I actually didn't release my video now during the major because it could literally, you'll find out why, have actually put one of their players in real danger. So I purposely am waiting till they're fully home, the major's over, and then I'll drop it all. You'll find out why. That's a pretty telling angle in itself, right? But you'll find out what I mean by that.
Oh,
You'll find out what I mean.
I love it. I can't wait now. So what, we got a week, like 10 days. 10 days or so. Good. Well then, something to mark your calendars. Be sure to look forward to that, guys. I'm going to be looking forward to it. That's going to be good stuff. I just love their antics on social media. It's painful shit. So, all right, good. We got that.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.